Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something really fundamental, something that affects everything else, mental fitness.
Yeah,
We
Yeah.
spend so much time tracking, steps, calories, workouts, but what about keeping our minds fit?
that's exactly it. And we've looked at some really interesting material that shows mental fitness is, well, it's way more than just managing stress, although that's definitely a piece of the puzzle.
Right.
It's more about like actively building up our resilience, our focus, our sense of balance, especially when life throws things off kilter.
Okay.
So the mission today really is to dig into that mind-body connection, the science of it, and pull out some practical, usable tools you can actually use to boost your own mental fitness.
Okay, let's get into that because the sources we reviewed, they make it super clear this isn't just some, vague idea. There's actual biology at play here.
Oh, absolutely. Hard science.
Let's start with the brain. It's not just sitting up there thinking thoughts in isolation, is it?
Not at all. Think of it as the body's main control hub. It's constantly sending out signals, influencing hormones, immune function, pretty much everything.
Uh-huh.
And a huge part of that is the autonomic nervous system, the ANS. It's got those two main branches you've probably heard of.
Yeah, the sympathetic and parasympathetic.
Exactly. Sympathetic is your fight or flight, the accelerator.
Yeah.
Parasympathetic is rest and digest. That's the brake.
So stress hits and the sympathetic system just kicks in. We get that cortisol, that adrenaline rush, which is useful short term for emergencies.
Right, it's designed for that immediate threat.
But the problem arises when we get stuck in that on mode, doesn't it? When that becomes the default setting.
That's the crucial point, yeah.
Yeah.
Chronic stress, where that sympathetic system is constantly activated, it just wears the body down.
How so? What kind of effects are we talking about?
Well, the sources detail a whole cascade of problems. Your immune system gets weaker, so you get sick more often.
Uh.
Digestive issues pop up. There's more strain on your heart and cardiovascular system. Sleep gets disrupted. You get that awful mental fog.
Oh, I know that feeling.
Right. And just general emotional instability, finding it harder to regulate your moods. It really impacts everything when stress becomes chronic.
It's a really clear illustration of mind impacting body. But look, it's not all negative, right? What about the flip side? When we're feeling mentally good.
Absolutely, there's a positive side. Cultivating positive mental states tends to activate the parasympathetic system, hitting the brakes on stress.
Okay.
This brings on relaxation, which lets the body do its thing, healing, recovering, restoring balance. It's this constant back and forth that's so important.
Now, one area mentioned is psychoneuroimmunology. That sounds complicated.
It's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the core idea is actually pretty straightforward.
Okay.
It's basically the study of how your mental state, your psychology affects your nervous system, and, in turn, your immune system. Psychoneuroimmunology. And the research is clear. Psychological stress can literally suppress your immune response, make you more vulnerable to illness.
So feeling stressed doesn't just feel bad. It actually opens the door for physical sickness.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Your thoughts and feelings are actively influencing your body's defense mechanisms. It's quite profound when you think about it.
Definitely. And then there's the gut-brain axis. That seems to be getting a lot of attention lately.
It really is. And for good reason. It's this constant two-way communication happening between your gut and your brain.
How does that work? Like, physically?
Several ways. There's the vagus nerve, which is like a direct highway. And then there are chemical signals, many produced by the trillions of microbes living in your gut, your microbiome.
So the bacteria in our gut are actually sending signals to our brain.
You got it. They play a huge role in producing and regulating neurotransmitters. Like serotonin, the happy chemical, a lot of that is influenced by the gut. Same with GABA, which helps calm things down. So a healthy gut environment supports mental clarity, mood balance, even energy. But if your gut microbiome is out of whack, that's called dysbiosis, it's increasingly linked to things like anxiety and depression.
It really drives home how interconnected everything is. Okay, the science is compelling, but let's bring it back to the individual. Why should you listening right now make mental fitness a real priority? What are the payoffs?
Oh, the payoffs are huge and across the board. Physically, like we touched on, managing stress better means potentially lower blood pressure, better heart health, less inflammation, big stuff.
Okay, physical health, check. What about mentally, like our thinking?
Big impact there too. Better mental fitness translates to sharper focus, more cognitive clarity, more emotional stability. And that naturally leads to better decision-making, more creativity when solving problems.
Yeah, I can see that. If you're not constantly fighting internal battles, you've got more bandwidth for other things.
Exactly. And it spills over into relationships, too. Well, developing emotional intelligence, understanding your own emotions, recognizing others, and improving self-regulation, these are key parts of mental fitness.
Right.
And those skills directly improve communication, empathy.
Mm.
They make your relationship stronger, healthier. You navigate conflicts better.
That makes a lot of sense. And does it also help protect against more serious mental health issues?
It seems to, yes.
Yeah.
Building mental fitness is like building psychological resilience, that ability to bounce back from setbacks.
Mm.
And having that resilience can act as a buffer, potentially helping to prevent or at least better cope with things like anxiety, depression, or burnout down the road. It's proactive.
So ultimately, it's about living a more fulfilling life.
That's a great way to put it. A positive, engaged mind, which mental fitness helps cultivate, really supports a deeper sense of satisfaction and purpose. It's about thriving, not just surviving.
Okay, sold. Mental fitness is crucial. So how do we actually do it? What are some real practical tools people can use?
All right, the how-to. The sources offer quite a few. Let's start with mindfulness and meditation.
Okay. Mindfulness is being present.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Paying attention to the present moment, your thoughts, feelings, what's around you, but without judging it, just noticing.
And how does just noticing actually change anything?
It trains the brain, essentially.
Mm.
Regular practice can actually change brain structure and function. It can calm down the amygdala, the fear center,
Okay.
while strengthening the prefrontal cortex, your rational thinking, decision-making hub. It lowers cortisol, that stress hormone, and some studies even show it increases gray matter in the hippocampus, which is key for memory and learning.
That's pretty amazing for just paying attention. So how does someone start if they've never done it? It sounds maybe a bit daunting.
Start small. Seriously, 5 or 10 minutes a day. Guided meditations are great for beginners. Apps like Headspace or Insight Timer have tons.
Right.
Or just practice mindful breathing. Focus on the feeling of breath coming in and going out.
Yeah.
You can do mindful walking, mindful eating, just pay full attention. And there's a quick grounding technique for stressful moments. The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Notice 5 things you see, 4 you can touch, 3 you hear, 2 you smell, 1 you taste. It pulls you back to the present.
I like that. Very concrete.
Yeah.
Okay, what about cognitive training, brain games and stuff? Do they work?
They can be part of the picture, yeah. Mental exercises help keep the brain adaptive, promoting neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself.
So it's like a workout for the brain.
Kind of, yeah.
Mm.
Those apps like Lumosity or Elevate can be useful,
Mhm.
but it's not just games. Learning a new language, playing an instrument, doing complex puzzles like Sudoku or crosswords, even reading challenging material and really thinking about it, maybe discussing it, anything that stretches your brain in new ways.
So novelty and challenge are key. Got it. Another tool mentioned is journaling. How does writing stuff down help?
Journaling is it's a really powerful way to process thoughts and untangle emotions. Get clarity. It also lets you track your progress, see patterns over time.
Are there specific techniques?
Yeah, a few popular ones. Gratitude journaling, just writing down, say, 3 things you're grateful for each day. It shifts focus.
Okay.
There's thought logging, catching negative or irrational thoughts, examining them, and consciously reframing them, like challenging your own thinking.
Right, like CBT principles.
Exactly. And reflective writing, just exploring deeper stuff like fears, goals, significant events. It's a space for self-discovery.
It gives you perspective, I guess. Okay, we can't talk well-being without movement. Exercise. How vital is that for the mind?
Absolutely fundamental.
Yeah.
Regular physical activity is a huge mood booster. Releases endorphins, those feel-good chemicals.
Yeah.
It also increases something called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Think of it like fertilizer for your brain cells, helping them grow and connect.
Fertilizer for the brain. I like that.
And it's well known to reduce symptoms of anxiety and depression. Moving your body directly benefits your brain.
What kind of exercise is best? Does it matter?
Variety is good. Aerobic stuff, running, swimming, cycling, great for mood. Yoga and Tai Chi are fantastic because they combine movement, breath, and mindfulness.
Double benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't discount resistance training, lifting weights.
Yeah.
That can boost mood and feelings of self-efficacy, too. The main thing is finding something you enjoy enough to do consistently.
Consistency over intensity, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay. Sleep. We all know we need it, but
Yeah.
how critical is it for mental fitness specifically?
It's non-negotiable. Sleep is when the brain does its housekeeping, detoxifies, repairs cells, consolidates memories.
Right.
Skimp on sleep, and your cognitive function tanks. Focus, clarity, decision-making all suffer. Plus, it messes with mood regulation, makes you more reactive to stress.
So bad sleep makes everything harder mentally. What are some tips for better sleep hygiene?
Consistency is king. Same bedtime, same wake-up time, even on weekends, as much as possible. Limit blue light from screens before bed. It messes with melatonin production. Avoid caffeine in the afternoon or evening. Create a wind-down routine, reading a real book, maybe some light stretching or meditation. Signal to your brain, it's time to switch off.
Good practical advice. Okay, last tool the source has highlighted, social connection. Why is that so important?
Because we're wired for it.
Mhm.
Strong social bonds act as a major buffer against stress and even cognitive decline later in life.
Really?
Yeah. Conversely, loneliness is seriously bad for health, both mental and physical. It's linked to risks comparable to smoking or obesity. Meaningful connections are vital for our sense of well-being and belonging.
So how do we actively cultivate that in our busy lives? It's easy to let connections slide.
Be intentional about it.
Mm.
Schedule catch-ups with friends or family. Join groups or classes around your interests, built-in connection.
Good idea.
Volunteering is another great way. And maybe be mindful of social media, less passive scrolling, more actual interaction, even if it's online. Quality over quantity.
Quality connection. Okay. So we have these tools. How do we apply them in specific life areas, like at work, where stress often lives?
Good question. At work, try things like the Pomodoro technique, focused work bursts, then short breaks. Helps focus, prevents burnout.
Okay.
In stressful meetings, use quick regulation tools, deep breaths, that 5-4-3-2-1 grounding thing to stay calm and respond thoughtfully.
Instead of reacting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And maybe take 5 minutes at the end of the week to reflect. What drained me this week? What energized me? Helps manage your energy better.
Smart. What about in relationships? How do mental fitness skills help there?
Huge potential.
Mm-hmm.
Active listening, really trying to understand the other person's perspective, empathy that reduces so many misunderstandings.
Yeah.
Also, learning to name your emotion instead of just acting it out. Saying, I feel frustrated when, instead of just getting angry. It's cleaner communication.
Definitely requires self-awareness.
It does. And doing mindful things together, a walk, cooking, whatever, can strengthen the bond.
Nice. And for personal health goals, like losing weight or starting an exercise routine.
Mental fitness tools are key here too. Visualization, really picturing yourself succeeding, can boost motivation. Breaking big goals into tiny steps makes them less overwhelming. And celebrate the small wins.
Important.
And crucially, managing that inner critic. Replacing negative self-talk, I'll never stick with this, with more supportive affirmations. I can take this one step at a time. That internal dialogue matters hugely.
It really shapes our reality, doesn't it? Okay, something else that came up strongly was the idea of purpose. How does having a sense of purpose link to mental fitness?
It's a really powerful link. People who feel their lives have meaning and purpose tend to be more resilient, cope better with challenges, have better psychological health overall, and some studies even link it to longevity.
Wow. So it's not just a nice to have, it's protective.
It seems to be, yeah. Gives you a why, a direction, something bigger than just the day-to-day grind.
So if someone feels adrift, like they lack purpose, how might they cultivate it?
It often starts with reflection. What do you truly value? What principles matter most to you? Then how can you align your actions more closely with those values?
Okay.
Getting involved in service, helping others, mentoring that often sparks a strong sense of purpose. Setting meaningful long-term goals, especially ones that contribute something beyond just yourself.
Finding your contribution. And related to that, the idea of spiritual fitness came up briefly.
Yeah, that can be a component for many people, whether it's through organized religion, a connection with nature, art, or just a sense of being part of something larger. That spiritual dimension can provide a real anchor, a buffer against existential angst, and boost emotional stability. It's another facet of finding meaning.
It really highlights that well-being is multidimensional. Okay, so we have all these individual practices, which are great, but the sources also mentioned integrating approaches and knowing when to get help.
Absolutely key point. Self-care is foundational, but sometimes combining approaches or getting professional support is necessary or can just accelerate progress.
What kind of integrated approaches?
Things like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, to work on thought patterns, somatic experiencing, which focuses on how the body holds stress and trauma, biofeedback or neurofeedback, to gain more control over physiological responses. Even functional medicine, looking at underlying physical issues, or therapy that specifically incorporates mindfulness practices. There are many options.
So it's about finding the right fit. And when should someone definitely think about reaching out for professional support?
If you're dealing with persistent anxiety, depression, or burnout that's really impacting your life, your work, relationships, just daily functioning, that's a clear sign.
Okay.
Also, if past trauma is affecting you, or if you consistently struggle to regulate emotions or focus, if what you're trying on your own isn't enough.
Right.
And it's so important to remember seeking help from a therapist, a coach, a doctor, it's a sign of strength. It's proactive self-care. You don't have to go it alone.
That's a vital message. It's okay to need support. So, wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway here? The core message about mental fitness.
I think the biggest thing is that mental fitness isn't a luxury. It's fundamental to total health. Our minds, bodies, behaviors, they're all interconnected.
Right, it's holistic.
Exactly. Nurturing your mind directly benefits your physical health, your relationships, your effectiveness in the world. It's essential, not optional, for truly thriving.
And the good news is you don't need to overhaul your life overnight. Small steps count.
Absolutely. Consistency is key. 5 minutes of mindfulness, a short walk, jotting down a few thoughts, these small actions build up over time. They make a real difference.
So here's something to leave you with. In this demanding, fast-paced world, think about how valuable it is to be centered, aware, mentally agile. Consider this. How might cultivating that inner agility, that mental fitness, fundamentally change how you experience your daily life and shape your long-term well-being? Definitely something worth reflecting on. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.